Hi, I'm attorney Gregory Dell, joined by attorney Alexander Palamara, and we're going to discuss one of Alex's success stories against MetLife on a long-term disability insurance claim. And Alex, we like to talk about these successful cases we've had because we talk about the history of the case, what the person's occupation was, their medical condition, why they were denied, what you were able to do to help them, and then maybe provide some tips that people can take away from this to help them with their MetLife disability claim. So let's start with the background of this particular claim.
So this is like one of many, and a good thing about doing our profession is that we see denial letters all day long. So we see the insurance companies typically stick to the same formula. So in this denial, it's kind of the same formula as always, which helps us with our appeals. But our client came to us after working for, I think, over a decade for the Harris Corporation, which is now known as L3 Technologies, which is a big technology company and defense contractor. I mean, she had a great job. She worked as a contracts manager. She worked in Hawaii, at a military base in Hawaii, making great money. There's no reason to leave this job whatsoever. But unfortunately, at this base, I mean, she was sitting there working in her office, and she started suffering from like these violent nosebleeds, didn't know what was going on. Then getting flu-like symptoms on a regular basis and just suffering. Finally, she went to the doctor, sent her to a specialist, and lo and behold, they said, "It looks like you're suffering from toxic mold exposure." So she didn't realize what's going on, and then she realized that there's something wrong with the building that she's working at. She was worried it was her house, but it turned out not to be her house. She realized it's where she was working. So every day she's working 8-9 hours a day, suffering, essentially killing herself. So thankfully, her employer provided her with short-term and long-term disability insurance coverage, and that coverage was both with MetLife. And she went out of work and she filed a claim for benefits. MetLife approved her claim for short-term disability benefits, paid her for the full entire time period. She gets to long-term disability, and lo and behold, they went ahead and denied the claim.
Okay, so why would they approve? How long was the short term?
6 months.
Okay, so for 6 months they say you're disabled, and then was there something after the first 6 months where they agreed she was disabled that she got better?
She did not get better, and it's always comical to me when the insurance companies, they approve the short term for the entire time period, and they deny the long term from the get-go, and it's like at the stroke of midnight on the day that the policies are transitioning, she magically got better. Well, it didn't happen. And their denial letter was wrong. And I understand that the disability insurance company has a short-term side of it and a long-term side of it, and maybe the two arms don't know what the other side is doing. But it's just always comical to me that one side could say, yeah, we find you disabled, the medical records are supportive of your claim, and the other side say, no way, not whatsoever, we're denying your claim.
So tell us what the basis of the long-term disability denial was.
Well, I'm denying this claim, and this lady made good money, so it's a higher benefit value. You would think they would have done a better job in denying this claim. Thankfully, they didn't. I mean, they shouldn't have denied it in the first place, but they did such a terrible job at denying it. And when I say a terrible job, they didn't have an independent physician consultant perform a review of this claim. They could have gone out and hired somebody and called them independent, and they could perform a review of the medical record and say, hey, we had an independent doctor to take a look at this, and we don't find any support for your restrictions, limitations, or your symptoms. Here, they didn't do that. They had an in-house nurse and an in-house medical director perform a review of this claim. Now, the problem with that is, well, obviously there's an inherent bias that these people are going to be biased in favor of their own employees, or their own employers, who's paying their salaries.
Right.
But also beyond that is that oftentimes, a medical director, they're not specializing in anything. And this person, in this claim, you need someone who specialized in environmental illness, toxic mold exposure, and they didn't do that here, which left the door not just a crack open for us on this appeal, but it left it wide open for us to file an appeal. And I thought it was going to be a slam dunk case, and lo and behold, yes, it was a slam dunk case. We were able to get this lady on claim, and she's still on claim till today.
And how many years has it been?
I mean, she became disabled in 2018. She came to us in early 2019. The appeal was filed a few months later, and we finally got her approved probably mid-2019. So it's been 2 years since she was approved. But I was looking up this case this morning. It was just I wanted to bring it up because I think there's so much good elements to it to show where the insurance companies mess up and what you have to do to prove your claim.
And so talking about what you have to do to prove the claim, you mentioned appropriate medical specialists. What did that mean in this case, and why is it important to make sure you're treating with the right kind of doctors?
Because it gives you more credibility. You can go and see your primary care physician or a family medicine doctor, and those doctors are often very supportive, and they're very qualified doctors. But in certain situations, you want to have a specialist look at your claim, especially when you're dealing with something that not everybody deals with on a regular basis. Most people are not exposed to toxic mold on a regular basis, and most doctors don't see it on a regular basis. So you might go see your primary care physician. They might just say you have flu-like symptoms. Here's a Z-Pack. You'll be better in a couple of days. And thankfully, her primary care said, there's something else here. Let me send you to a specialist. And lo and behold, a specialist in Hawaii, where she lived, was just somebody who was one of the renowned experts in the field, and he could do the appropriate testing on her and give her the appropriate treatment. Unfortunately, she's not better. She was exposed for such a long period of time that she's still suffering to this day, and we continue to prove her claim with the updated records and the updated support from her treating providers. But with our appeal, we were able to use that support, and her doctors, she was treated by 3 or 4 doctors, all supportive of the claim.
I was going to ask you about that because we've handled several toxic mold, or they call them sick building syndrome type cases, and in some situations when the people are removed from the location that they know was the source of causing the illness-like symptoms, that the person makes a recovery over a certain period of time. What in this area of this diagnosis of the toxic mold exposure or sick building syndrome, it turns out it can be a chronic and permanent medical issue?
Of course, yes. Not always, but it can be. That was one of the arguments they tried to make, was that you've left the office building, you should be better now. But the problem is that she wasn't better now. Her medical records showed that she wasn't better now. Her doctors pointed to objective evidence that showed that she was not better now. And to this day, she's not better to the point where she can return to work. It's sad, but it's true. And whether MetLife wants to believe it or not, it's the truth of the matter.
And it's because a lot of people can relate to, we've heard about these Roundup class action lawsuits, which is the weed killer fertilizer, and people were unfortunately getting cancer, and many people were dying. And the issue with that is that you were exposed to a toxin, and it created a chemical reaction in your body that then created medical issues. And here you were exposed to a toxin, which they know what it was in our client's case because they went and tested the facility.
I mean, we sent them the toxic mold report with our appeal, so they cannot deny this building was a sick building.
And so everybody has different reactions to an exposure, whether it's a toxin or a virus, and it turns out that she has chronic, damage. Now, interesting now as we're filming this video, we're going to see the same issue with COVID, because COVID's a virus that many people are recovering, thankfully, and having no residuals. But we are hearing many stories now about people having chronic medical issues as a result of COVID. So the point is that there's many conditions that once the damage is done, then it's a function of how your body's going to react to that and whether you're going to go back to how you were pre-condition or post-condition. So what do you recommend for people who are in your position similar to your client, where they've been denied, they've won the appeal, to be able to protect their benefits moving forward?
Well, you need to, first of all, contact us. We'll happily help anybody who's been denied benefits. But if you get denied benefits, the first thing you need to do is order a copy of the claim file from the insurance company.
But beyond getting denied, once you win the appeal,
what
now can someone do? And even if someone's watching this video and they're saying, I'm on claim, they're paying me, but what can I do to make sure my benefits continue?
Continued treatment. The insurance company, you have to continually prove your claim to the insurance company. I'd make a joke that you could be a paraplegic or lose all your limbs, and they're going to deny your claim if you don't give them updated medical records. Like somehow you're a frog who can, regrow your legs and arms.
Right. The
insurance companies sometimes are ridiculous like that. Sometimes I have clients on claim my client is not getting better. They have primary progressive MS. They're not getting better. I'll send you updated medical records, but they're not going to treat every month. They're going to treat, on a regular basis with their providers. But lo and behold, you just need to keep the beast well fed. I consider some of the insurance companies to be beasts, and unfortunately, you have to continue treatment because you have to keep them well fed, just to keep them off your backs. Because your salary, your income right now is your disability insurance benefit. So sometimes you have to actually treat more than your doctor might even want you to, or have to go see him in the office or see her in the office, just so you can keep the beast well fed.
And MetLife in particular, I don't know if in this policy, they have limitations that limit the payment. They'll sometimes have a neuromuscular or a musculoskeletal limitation disorder. What is that, and is that present in this particular policy, and would that play a factor if it was?
It is not in this policy, but it could play a factor. The other thing they could do is, like you're saying, there's language in the policy that limits benefits for certain conditions. Everyone knows there's a mental health limiting language in the 99.9% of the group policies out there. So that's one thing I was fearful of this claim. They were going to say that you suffered from your chronic immunoresponse syndrome and your toxic mold exposure, but they could have said that you're better physically from that, but now you've developed depression and anxiety from this. So oftentimes I see the insurance companies try to change the diagnosis, saying, no, you don't really have that anymore. Now you have this mental health issue, and because you have mental health issue, we're going to deny your claim after 24 months. And I've seen that strategy as well. But the limiting language that they try to do is try to box you into those limiting language, conditions, so they can deny your claim after 2 years or whatever, how many months the policy pays for those conditions.
Right. So another tip for people is to be really careful that you don't have a mental nervous condition limitation or a limitation that says you have to have objective evidence of a particular medical condition. Here, arguably, if you did have a limitation, you could have shown that here it's proven in her blood work that she has objective findings of abnormalities, and that would be evidence that the doctor would say, because of these abnormal blood test results, she's having the following symptoms. So, well, congratulations on a claim that, the mold cases are tough claims in general, and MetLife can be very difficult to deal with. So it's great that you were able to, win this long-term disability appeal and continue to protect her benefits. If you're someone with a MetLife long-term disability claim, no matter where you live in the country, feel free to reach out to myself or Alex. We always provide an initial free phone consultation, and we look forward to the opportunity to speak with you should you need our help. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process, and when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.